I've frequented a number of Couch to 5K forums over the past couple of years in trying to find inspiration for my family to continue in their journey for running. And there are a number of questions that are commonly asked, and this video is about the top 3. So if you're trying to get ahead of your training curve and want to meet those questions head on, then stay tuned. My name's Ray Whitby. This is Aspiring Runners. Let's get into it. Now, whatever your reasons for doing Couch to 5K, absolutely fantastic to hear that you're considering it, you're doing it, maybe you've even done it and you were successful. And there is a great wealth of information out there that needs to be consolidated into videos like this. And all I'm doing then is taking what I believe I've seen as the top 3 questions that keep coming up time after time. These are asked by the Couch to 5K runners week in, week out, and so it's my privilege to go through them. Now, in third place, we have those that are struggling with niggles and injuries. And of course, it happens to every runner. It's going to happen if you run and you're not used to it. Even if you're used to it, things can happen whilst you're running. The body undergoes a certain amount of changes, a certain amount of stress, and it really comes down to how well your body can cope with it as to the degree of niggle or injury that you get. And the first response always has to be, you've got to rice it. You've got to rest, ice, compression, elevation. And there is no point rushing any of these stages, certainly no point in missing out on any of these stages. You have to make sure that your body is getting the rest it needs, that the injury is having time to heal itself. Now, that may actually involve speaking to a medical professional from time to time, and or a physiotherapist, and just ensuring that you are getting the best possible help that targets things in the right way. Crikey, big competition for noise. But there are also lots of other things you can look at to ensure that you are reducing the number of niggles and number of injuries. It could be an effective warm-up, making sure that you don't skip that step. But of course, when you're going out for running, you may not be used to a training program. The running itself can be the end all. It's just the sole focus of you getting out the door and running. Therefore, attaching in a warm-up phase and afterwards a cool-down phase seems rather superfluous. It's extra time, it's extra effort that you don't have, and you just want to get on with trying to complete a successful run. And all I can say is, don't skip that stage. You've got to get out there. You've got to warm up properly. If you don't warm up properly, you're opening your body to all sorts of problems. So it really becomes important that you focus on the right preparation, and that includes from start to finish, and a great cool down session. There, you don't have to be long, just a couple of minutes. And if you check out this video, you'll have come up with some ideas that I posted a while ago. So with effective preparation, you could also look at the types of running surface that you're pounding the streets. Hitting the concrete can actually be a very tiresome thing, certainly for the body. It's a solid surface, and the repeated jarring can cause all sorts of injuries. So you could think about where you're training. Maybe you need to shift it to a trail, get off-road, find a gravelly path, or even better, find fields of grass to run in. And now I know it's not always easy, and you do need to train your body over time to adapt to these surfaces. But again, it's just something to think about. And another thing that can lead to injury is posture, and understanding how you run can make a big difference to your continued running capabilities. Getting your posture right from head to toe, how you move that running form, and how your feet strike the ground, how heavy you are or how light you are on your feet. And it's not to say that you can never overcome these things, but being wary of them does help. So again, getting that right form, and here's another video link that you can go and explore. So that takes care of the third place topmost question asked. In second place, quite surprisingly, was headphones. And it's a question that I see not just for Couch to 5K runners, but also season runners as well. And now, of course, technology does move, and it's quite rapid. And we all have our favourite systems, whether it comes down to a phone or watches, and how they can help in the whole running music, or whether you're listening to audiobooks, motivational speaks, whatever it may be, that if you're going to use headphones, you really want to know what's good for you. Now, unsurprisingly, here's a video link that I just did, comparing some of the top 2 headphones that I've come across in terms of recommendations. I've trialled both of these, so it's well worth having a look and going through. But I'll just say, underneath all of that, like running shoes, it all comes down to what suits you, above and beyond anything else that you may use. So it could be that you prefer in-ear headphones, or maybe on the ear. For me, I prefer around the ear clips, but there are also new styles that are coming in, like bone conduction technology. Now, it depends what you're after as well, of how clear and crisp, how loud you want that music. I did come across recently that if you're looking to ever jump into a race down the road, then some headphones are banned and others are favoured. And it all comes down to you being safe whilst out running. There's no point being so immersed in the music that you cannot hear traffic if you're out on the roads. But equally, if you're out on the trails, you certainly want to make sure that you're not going to get run over by a horse or a bike that comes up on you unawares. So I think the main piece of advice I would say is, of course, look at the recommendations, but ultimately you're going to have to try it. And out of these 2 systems, it's the M-Power Flame 2 and the Aftershocks Titaniums. Some of these headphones can be very inexpensive, so you can try them. If you don't like them, hopefully you could send them back in the returns window. If not, they're small enough in terms of price-wise, you can just discard them and try again. So headphones are really actually quite important question to be asked, and then find the answers to online. And in number 1 spot, it's the same one that is really, really tough for all Couch to 5k runners. In fact, anybody going through a program and running through a training schedule, they come across this time and time again. Now, of course, if you've managed to crack the Couch to 5k program, in your mind, the fact that you've done it gives you the extra incentive to be able to go on to future programs and to be able to crack those. But dealing with it for the first time is really tricky. So the question in number 1 spot that's always asked on Couch to 5k forums is, with a difficult day or a difficult week, I cannot do it. I physically could not do it. Now, often it's around the week 6 or week 7 where you've got to put back-to-back 12-minute training blocks and somehow produce a 20-minute run all in all without stopping. And they tend to be some of the hardest parts of your training program for Couch to 5k than any others. But the thing is that the training programs themselves, you've got to understand that they build it up, that you should be doing smaller segments and building up on those smaller segments until hopefully your body potentially could actually do 20 minutes without stopping. But not everybody can do it, and it can be a very big quitting point. So look, some of the things you've got to look at are, like I am at the moment trying to run and talk, is you get out of breath quickly. If you're out of breath, your legs are short of energy. A lot of that could be down to the fact that you're running too quickly. So you've really got to adjust your pace and get that within a comfortable zone. And there is a problem where some people think that they're running so slowly that they might as well walk. Well, if it gets to that stage, then do it. It's not a failure to have to inject a tiny bit of walking in there, or even a shuffle, even a gentle jog. The whole purpose is trying to get your body ready and able to cope with the distance, right? The distance all the time, I should say. Now, the other things is, don't be afraid to repeat those weeks. Sometimes you just got to. that you may be stuck on a week for a short while. And it could be that there are other factors that are preventing it. The stress of life can actually offset what happens in the body, and mentally you're just not prepared for the challenge. So I think certainly getting the right motivation is absolutely critical, and remembering why you're doing this, really, really important. And also with delaying or repeating certain weeks, I think it gives your body time to adapt to the changes. And if you're nursing injuries or an illness, you're going to make things very, very difficult. So give yourself time to adjust to what's happening to your body, and sufficient time to actually recover from the exertions that it's going through. Now, of course, this does lead to one of the other big problems that's in terms of the questions asked, which is, well, if I stop, don't I lose all my fitness and performance? Now, I have looked into this. I've done a bit of research on others doing proper research, and it just shows that you don't have a negative development or a loss of your potential, or that running that you've done to date, all the physiological changes, they don't disappear overnight. It probably takes about 8 weeks before you see a significant decrease in your performance. So if you're out with injuries or illness, you shouldn't crucify yourself, because that would be the worst thing to do, is to lose the battle mentally. You've got to understand that it will take many more weeks. Now, of course, it will be difficult getting back into the saddle and getting out running again, and it will feel tough, but you'll find that the physiological changes in your body that you've done so far, they don't just go away in an instant. It takes many months before they fully disappear. Now, getting access to that performance will probably take a little bit of time, but be prepared to put in that little bit of effort. So think realistically about your goals and what you can do. I think the number one rule here is that whatever you're doing, however you're struggling, is just do not quit. If you quit, it's game over. If you never run again, then you've lost the battle. So think long term. Doesn't matter if you get it done in this season. There's another season and another that you can keep trying. So it's a look at the long term of what you're trying to achieve and plan accordingly. Of course, you can adjust your goals so much that you will never ever achieve them if you make them too soft, that ultimately you will have to get out there. But don't be afraid to adjust the plan. Don't be afraid to try a different running app. I always recommend finding motivation, whether that's listening to music, running with other people, maybe even rewarding yourself and having something ready as an incentive that when you do complete the Couch to 5K, is there. Plus, get onto these Couch to 5K forums. There are thousands of people that are going through what you're going through. There are thousands more that have been where you've been at, myself included. I remember what it was like trying to do Couch to 5K or something similar. And okay, some people can breeze through it. My son, for example, did 2 weeks of Couch to 5K, weeks 6 and 7, and then did his 5K. My daughters, however, are stuck on week 7. So just saying that you've got to recognise your limits, but also try and adapt the plan, adapt your training routine to fit. So don't crucify yourself. If you can keep going, even if you're taking a break for a couple of weeks, you're stuck on a week for several months, keep going. As they say, certainly in the UK for the NHS, is little and often. All the doctors advocated exercise little and often. Just keep going. You'll find your rhythm eventually. You'll be able to crack it. You'll look back and you'll take great delight, one hopes, that you have that strength and you have that ability. So stay motivated and keep on running. So look, these are the top 3 questions that I've come across time and time again, and they may not necessarily be the biggest stumbling blocks in your Couch to 5K program, but they certainly can help. So I hope you found this useful. If you have other questions that came in to mind other challenges that you had that could help others, why don't you post them down below in the comment section? And yeah, just be great to interact with you. You know, where have you been at? How did you find that training? And yeah, how can we help you reach your goals? So look, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you'd have a look around this channel, pick up on a few other videos. If you like it, it'd be great if you could hit that thumbs up button. It really does help. But also it'd be great if you want to subscribe, hit the bell notification, then you'll be alerted to upcoming videos. So thanks for joining me on this run. My goodness, it's been tough. It's been hot, muggy. I think I'm dragging a little bit of a cold, but it's been great to interact. So take care, so long, and catch you next time on Aspiring Runners.